together to bring you a one-stop media buying experience. Call them today at 478-501-0408 or 678-800-3976. They're here to support businesses, churches, and your ministries to maintain your operation during COVID-19. Give them a call today at 678-800-3976 or 478-501-0408. WDDO, The Glory 980 AM and Middle Georgia Informer is here to offer you affordable advertising packages to promote your products and or services. Give them a call today at 478-501-0408 and get started on your one-stop media buying experience. The Glory, 678-800-3976. WDDO, The Glory, 980 AM. A life is a precious one, so discover a funeral service as unique as the life your loved one lived. Bentley & Sons Funeral Home has served the Middle Georgia community since 1975, providing exceptional funeral and cremation services. This is a time to honor and celebrate your loved one. Don't wait. Plan ahead. Choose Bentley & Sons Funeral Home to bring remembrance, healing, and hope. DeAndre Bentley, family and staff want you to
Welcome to the New Life show by Pastor Cheryl Armstrong, Dr. Pastor Cheryl Armstrong. We are filling in for her on today, and we will be introducing ourselves. I am Anthony Johns, and we have...
And I am Jacqueline Lee.
I'm Angel Dillon.
I am CJ Lee.
And we have Angel through the via webcam. Can you hear us, Angel?
Yes. Can you all hear me?
Angel, I think your audio, you may have to fix your audio.
Okay.
But we are here to speak on the topic of today, which is concerning emotional abandonment. And we will be discussing issues on how emotional abandonment may affect your adulthood. So we will go into prayer. Our Father, we thank you for today. We thank you for the gathering. God, we ask that you open up our hearts, minds, body, and souls. God, we ask that you give us a fresh beginning, a new mind, a new body, a new soul, a new outlook on life. And God, we ask that you will bless our families, our homes forever. Amen.
Amen.
So we will start off with telling everyone thank you so much for tuning in on today. Angel, is your audio back on?
Can you hear me now?
Okay, may have to fix your audio, but we will continue. And we are speaking on emotional abandonment today and how emotional abandonment may affect your adulthood. I would say it usually starts in childhood and it can begin in adulthood as well. We may see abandonment within our own relationships. We may see abandonment in our existing in the church. Without the church, we may feel abandoned by our kids, by our family, by our jobs, and you can have emotional abandonment. And the cool part about this show is we have a beautiful couple here, a married couple that will give their insight on emotional abandonment or even physical abandonment, or even if we have our own personal issues emotionally with our family, our friends, and our background experiences. And even in this pandemic, a lot of us probably have felt abandoned, and Black communities probably have felt abandoned. Our parents probably have felt abandonment. And how do you move on, and how do you forgive, and how do you bounce back, and how do people survive? We will start with CJ. How are you doing today?
I am doing great. How about yourself?
Awesome. And he's a powerful man of God, been in the church, married, a hardworking guy. And I'm sure your experiences of your own personal life that you can definitely expound on this topic.
Yes, I'll begin by First people need to learn what abandonment is. I experienced it a lot growing up as a child, and this doesn't mean that I had negative parents. It doesn't mean that I had bad parents. They did the best that they could do. I had extremely loving parents, but through professional help, through you notice I said professional help. If you're going to get help with something, you have to get help with someone who is qualified to help you, not someone that just have credentials, but someone who's probably have their own personal life that allowed them to really minister to you at a level of which just book knowledge alone can't help. I grew up in a household where my dad constantly worked. He was an extremely hard worker, and through professional help, I realized how much I was truly abandoned. Um, he like I said, he worked. I seen my mom sick a lot. We didn't I didn't grow up in a household where there was a lot of intimacy. It was like, okay, hey, you gotta do this. I need you to grow up fast. We can't have no crying. Yeah. It's okay to be tough, but you can have a bad perception of being tough, and that could leave you broken in many areas. There may come a time where you really need to seek some type of help, or some type of you need to be in a culture where you might need to do something, but you'll revert back to that moment saying, oh, okay, I just need to be tough. Okay, I just need to pull myself together here, and I can get through this. When a lot of things we weren't even designed to get through on our own. And one characteristic of abandonment with a lot of people is lead to not trusting anyone. I mean, you could see the happiest person, but they may have trust issues, and it comes in so many different forms. You may have a person that needs help with something, and they won't ask for help, and that could be stemming back from an area that they are faced with their childhood. I mean, I'll probably talk a lot about childhood today, and I'm not just giving you some random facts. I'm giving you just straight from my own life. So I can't give you nothing more authentic. I grew up in a household with 6 kids, and my mom and dad. And like I said, there were so many things that we ran into that I see now that it was an abandonment, and it really affected a lot in my adulthood. Number one, I thought I had to just do everything myself, and I thought no matter how I felt, that I had to just continue to move forward and press forward. And truly and honestly, I was broken, grown man, and I'm just broken, and it was really stemming back from a time of abandonment, and that was from my father. Oh, I gotta work, son. I gotta take care of you. I gotta do this. Your mom is sick. We don't have insurance. I gotta do this. Do know my dad was a great father. He did what he had to do to take care of his family, but that also leads, like, from where we are now, how can we help people? There's somebody that's going through this same thing right now. So we must implement strategies so that someone can come out of that, or so that someone can be in a position so they don't have to experience that. So now the time to come up with strategies so that we can help other families who are going through these things. And I'm gonna pass this on to my wife to see what she has to add on to that.
Thank you. Well, I can piggyback also on what my husband said. I grew up in a family. I was the oldest of 4 kids, and I was always a daddy's girl. I think my abandonment issues stemmed from my mother. She was always in the house, but because of certain problems that we had in the house, then it kind of like put a wedge between us, and I started clinging more to my dad because I felt like, mother-daughter issues, it really is real. Mother-daughter issues are real, and even the Bible speaks about that. But my abandonment issues made me, as an adult, I felt like, okay, because my mom was not there, I have learned that my daughters now tell me that I sometimes tend to be overprotective. And because she was there, but she wasn't really there, because everybody on my mom's side of the family, we had problems with alcohol. And so because of the alcohol abuse in our family, I made a decision that, that would never be me. And as a child, I saw so much growing up with aunts and uncles, drunk. And so we pretty much, I'm not going to say we raised ourselves, but back then, we could go outside and play all day, stay out till the sun went down, and nobody would think anything else of it. And so I grew up to be the go-getter. I had to do everything. I felt like I had to do everything because that's me being the oldest of 4 kids. That was my position. I had to take care of my brothers and sisters. And so with my daughters now, it's like I'm overprotective of them and trying to bridge that gap between not being so overprotective and not to push them out there and to make them feel like I'm not there. I don't want them to feel like they have been abandoned. And because, even with children now, during this pandemic, the divorce rate spiked. And because the divorce rate spiked, that one parent was not in the home, and that caused abandonment issues. Abandonment issues are caused by, one parent might be incarcerated. Someone may be mentally ill, and that child feels like they don't have a safe place. So that, and that creates abandonment issues. And then when they grow up, especially girls, they grow up looking for the love that they didn't receive from a father figure that was not there, and which leads to all types of other issues like domestic abuse and low self-esteem. But it's just a topic that no one discusses, especially not in the Black community. Everybody's always telling us to pray about things. And prayer is good, but sometimes you need to be able to seek professional help.
Yes, that's really good. And I think we have Angel back on. How's your audio doing?
Can you hear me? Oh no. I've
Is your
tried.
audio on?
It's on.
Can't hear you. Well, until you get your audio fixed, so I want to bounce back to what you said about we were taught to pray about it.
Yes.
And we were just taught to say, pray about it, give it to God. And we can do that, but yet you still have that void. You still have that emotional abandonment. You still have that traumatic, that traumatic experience. You have that reality in your life saying this happened, and you can have faith and you can pray, but it still can linger. It can continue. And this could be your reality. And I love what you said about being overprotective of your kids due to what you've been through in your own childhood. And with the pandemic, with the spikes of divorce, and you see families breaking apart. And a lot of times when we pray about things, and they can say, pray about it, turn around 3 times, it's over. But the reality is, it's not over. And how do you deal with having faith, but yet abandoned? Having faith, but yet I'm alone. Having faith, but I still can't see my way out of a unsafe place due to alcoholism, due to addiction, due to being born in a family that could have dysfunction. And sometimes you have to say to yourself, I have the faith, but yet I'm trying to survive. And Jackie, you are a living testimony how you can survive out of something. CJ, you are a living testimony on how you can survive of being raised in a hardworking family and having a father within a marriage legally, but yet feeling that work took most of his time. And you, as a son who probably needed his dad, you were taught probably more work ethic or more than anything, and which you probably have applied it, of course, within your own family. So there's certain things we can take out of our abandonment that made us a stronger person.
Yeah.
But then yet you probably, I don't know if you ever saw yourself as a work addict.
Oh yes, absolutely. And a lot of that actually stemmed from that time of my childhood. That had a major effect on my marriage.
Wow.
Because something. Wow. Here go to one of the craziest part about it. A lot of people go their whole lives unaware. And as I was saying a second ago about strategies, we have to come up with strategies. Because if you don't know what you're dealing with, you gotta be able to identify what you're dealing with in order to fix it. That's like, I got a cold and the doctor says, let's have foot surgery. Hold up, hey. No, man, I got a cold. Give me something to handle my cough. Give me something to break this fever. Give me something to remove something out of my body. No, let's take your foot off. See, a lot of people are approaching a problem and they don't know what the problem is, and they're giving attention to something that's not even the problem. So we got to be able to identify what these problems are. And that's what I've done for years. To just, man, people say, yeah, man, we work hard. Yeah, absolutely, we do work hard. But I wanna work harder on my marriage than I do with something in my life that's sometimes not even really beneficial. And those moments took me to a place where I am a workaholic. Wow. I am a workaholic, and that caused me not to focus enough time or the proper time that I have and wanted to devote to my marriage. And don't get me wrong, I have a wonderful wife. We have a wonderful marriage. But once again, seeking professional help really taught me on how to enhance my marriage. Wow. Now I'll let Jackie talk on that for a moment.
You're right. We need time away from our jobs in order to be able to work on our marriage, because sometimes we get so caught up in going to work, come home, going to work, come home, that we lose sight of what we're really working for. I can honestly say I work at UPS. The first 10 years of working at UPS, I didn't take a vacation.
Wow.
It's not that I didn't have vacation time, but it was because I was always working. And every time somebody said, Jackie, I need, that's all they had to say, Jackie, I need, can you come? Can you do this? Can you do that? Because I felt like if I don't do it, it won't get done. And that stems back from my childhood. Growing up, I felt like, I cook a lot. I love to cook. And it was because I had to cook as a child, as a young child, because, I'm the oldest, so I had to cook. And if anybody said, I need, I'm always there for them. And if you're always there for someone else, someone in your household is lacking.
Wow.
And so I had to take a moment and say, okay, I have vacation time. I earned vacation time. Now I take all of my vacation time. I devote 100% while I'm at work, but I have to realize while I'm at work, But when I'm home, that is my home. That's my safe haven. That's where I have to nurture my husband. We have to nurture the children. And we have to just, bring it back to the original family the way God intended it to be.
Yes.
Mhm.
Wow. That is so deep. I hope Angel, I hope your audio is on.
I can
Can you
I
hear
can
us?
hear you all. Can you hear me?
We still can't hear you. I may
Oh
have to call
wow.
you and put you on a speakerphone. But Jackie, what you just said is phenomenal. Having that responsibility as the oldest,
Mhm.
and when you said I love to cook, but I had to cook, that responsibility was put on you, so you had to learn to do it. And then when you're dealing with, I'm always there for people, and always probably had to put some family members
Yes.
in front of your marriage just to help them, and because you were the person that people have depended on as being the oldest and taking upon certain responsibilities. And then it's yet we can reflect on self-care of not caring about ourselves. We can abandon ourselves by putting people in front of us because we have been accustomed for so many years to say, I grew up in a single parent household, and I had to cook, I had to clean, I had to take care. Or you could say I was born with a mother and a father, but the responsibility was put on me due to health conditions, due to economic conditions, and we, like you said, we have taken that on within our own adulthood, and then now we have time to like reflect. When you said, "Hey, I didn't take a vacation in 10 years," so when you add that up, you were telling me earlier you could take 7 weeks off of vacation. You add that up, you pretty owe yourself 70 weeks. So like, and now you're learning probably to do self-care, to take out time for yourself and not to feel guilty about it. A lot of times people have felt guilty about receiving gifts or even receiving vacation time because you feel like I have to work. I have to do this, this, or this. And yet we never have taken a break. It's just to say, ooh, let me meditate, let me have a vacation, and I deserve this. And a lot of people don't feel like they are deserving of that. And then you can abandon your own feelings to put someone else's feelings in front of you. And hopefully we can reflect on self-abandonment too, how we can abandon our feelings just to make someone else feel better, or to say, hey, you know, I'm going to put you first and I'm going to put my emotions last so I can make you feel better. And I don't want to come off as a mean person. I don't want to come off as if I'm a needy, begging person. So I'm just going to remain quiet and I'm just going to allow you to feel forgiving. And sometimes we have to say to ourselves, I deserve forgiveness. I deserve replication. I deserve to be hard, because we can abandon own um, our own opinions, our own facts. We can abandon our own vocal ability. I don't know if you ever been through that where you have to put your own self second just to put someone else on first, or like abandoning your own emotions, or because I know you have emotional intelligence, but sometimes we may not want to use it so we can make someone else feel better. We can make someone else feel like they were the best mother, the best father, the best son, or the best daughter. We don't want to hurt anyone's feelings, and that can turn into a people pleasing spirit, where we want to please people, please our supervisor, please our families, and we are not pleased, and that's another abandonment. Us. So I'm not sure if you ever been through that.
I'm gonna let Jackie speak on that one there.
Um, yes, I can say that I have done that. Um, as a woman, we tend to, put others or our mates or our families in front of our own feelings. And then that causes us to lose sight of who we really are. And, when we lose sight of who we really are, we do things to try to be perfect for someone else. And when we're not genuine to our own selves, we're out here doing, okay, I have to do this and I have to do, if I don't do this, then they're going to leave. If I don't do that, then they're going to be upset. So it does stem back to what you were saying about people pleasing. And women typically tend to fall, more prey to that, because we want to be, like Whitney used to say, every woman. I'm every woman, and we want people to look at us and say, okay, wow, she does this and she does that, she does this and does that. But what do we do for ourselves? Because you can't pour from an empty cup. You have to take time out to replenish yourself, whether you're praying, whether you take a spa day. I'll tell the people at work, sometimes this is J Day. I'm taking a J Day. So this is totally devoted to me, to do whatever I want to do. This is J Day. And sometimes we have to take that, even within, marriages. People see CJ and Jackie Lee, but there are times when CJ has to go, he goes and does his thing, like in the field and stuff like that. I have to let him,
Right.
do his thing. And then, I'll go to the spa, I'll go shopping with the girls or something like that. But we have to have time so that we can, get grounded again.
And I like that.
I agree.
And to get grounded again, it's like a restoration, like restoring yourself.
Yes.
And Angel, can you hear us now?
I can hear you. Can you hear
Okay,
me?
great. Yes, we can hear you. Welcome to the show. I know you have heard a lot of information, and I'm sure you have some good feedback.
Right. So I can resonate with a lot of what has been said, especially what Jackie has said, in relation to mother-daughter relationship. I can relate to that a lot because coming up with my parents were no longer together. I was raised by my father, but he was an entrepreneur and he was always home. Anytime you saw him, you saw us. And so I didn't have the experience of having felt abandoned by my father, but I did feel a sense of loss because my parents didn't raise us together for a certain period of time. So I definitely can resonate with what Jackie has said.
That is awesome. And Angel, have you ever had a time in your life where you may have felt emotionally abandoned?
Well, yes, emotionally abandoned. I um, got married in my 20s, but I dated my ex-husband for since I was like 16. So when we got divorced, I felt separated from a family that I had known for so many years because I felt like I kind of grew up with them, and I felt like I lost a family. And so when you um, spend so much time with people, you do draw close to them. You have the same social norms. You have the same habits, and you kind of learn how to do things as a group. So I felt as though not just divorcing a person, I divorced a whole entire family.
Wow.
So it's a huge impact. That's why divorce is it's it's like baking. Marriage is like baking a cake. You putting all these ingredients together, but you can't undo them. You're going to separate, and you'll have a part of you and them together, and then they'll have a part of you and the two of you together when you separate. So the undoing of a marriage has a large effect on a person, and that's why I felt the major part of abandonment, the intention to divorce and the intention to get married. So that's why I felt that.
That is awesome. We would like to acknowledge our online listeners. Please go on Facebook, we are taking phone calls. We are on Facebook, WDDO 980 AM, and we are also on 107, I believe it's
Point nine.
107.9, and yeah, 107.9 FM and 980 AM, WDDO The Glory. If you want to call in or post on Facebook, share, you can share the link. And WDDO 980 AM 107.9. We are taking calls. We are on Facebook Live. Um, Angel, and I want to ask you if, and I know you are a armor bearer, and you had to support people in leadership. Have you ever felt becoming a servant and serving people? Have you ever felt, well? How did you balance the the how, and how did you balance yourself and giving your time to other people?
It's important to self-care. It's important to learn um, what what you like about yourself. It's important to know what you need for yourself. Learning life skills, getting counseling, helping to identify, even if, because everyone has things that they deal with. Um, Getting counseling is one of the things that help you identify things that may possibly trigger you. Um, and knowing, respecting your boundaries as well as the other person's boundaries, not blending them, and always respecting the other person, um, as they do have flaws like you do, being a forgivable person, um, and keeping things private, and just knowing how to keep boundaries is important. Respecting people's boundaries, yours as well as theirs. So sometimes people do things and they overly do it, and they overly compensate, or they overly do more for the other person. I have a rule of thumb: never give something away that you're gonna need for yourself. If I need my time, if I need my resources, if I think I might need it, I'm keeping it, because what I do is I put somebody in a position where they're taking something from me and they don't know it. So I can make sure I keep those kinds of boundaries, because that's important. You keep people from inadvertently taking advantage of you. You have to take your time, you have to take your resources, you have to take yourself and put yourself as number one. If you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of anyone else.
Wow, that is really good. And CJ, of course, you are an armor bearer as well.
Yes.
How did you balance your time with, like, because I feel like that position of serving and giving your time to leaders, that's a calling. Like, that's worship, that's serving. And how did you balance that with your time and making sure you had self care at the same time?
Mm, I could I could honestly say it was very simple,
Nice.
and my reason for saying that is about my spiritual leaders. His foundational principles are about time.
Wow.
Mm.
His foundational principles are about self care.
Self care.
He was actually one of the very first people to say, "Hey, seek professional help, even when you think you don't need it." Uh,
Hmm.
you could. I'm gonna use a car as an example. There could be something wrong with your car, and it could go on for months. It just hasn't notified the computer yet. So
Wow.
your check engine light isn't on. You riding around, you riding around, you riding around, and one day, boom, car just doesn't crank. And
Mm-hmm.
that's how our life can be.
Yes.
To have these things going on and you're unaware of it. Sometimes you could probably have some type of movement in your spirit signaling that something's going on and you just ignore it.
Oh, wow.
So I'm just so thankful that I have leaders that have discernment. And if you're not around discerning people, make sure you put yourself in a position that you can be in the midst of that culture. I thank God that I have leaders that say, "Hey, take time for your marriage.
Wow.
Hey, take a vacation." He don't mind telling me, "Take a vacation. Make sure you do this for your wife. Do something for your wife." And he's big on time management. And he always puts himself out there. Say, "Hey, I'm fixing to go on vacation. I might not be at church for a few weeks, but he'll be at church somewhere. But he's on vacation." So and also accountability.
Accountability. That's
You
good.
you
that's
need
good.
accountability when it comes to a lot of psychological things. When it comes to your emotional health, if you want to just try to do things on your own, good luck.
Wow.
Good luck.
Yes.
I mean, that was
That's
me. And
good.
once again, that a lot of that stemmed from my childhood. Hey, do this. Okay, I didn't do this. Hey, I need you to toughen up.
Yeah.
Hey, we need to be tough in this society,
Yes.
but that comes with a process.
Yes, it does.
We have to have a good process with that. So, and that was a good question, also, Anthony, because it's very important to be able to balance time. Because look at all the things we do. We work, family, church, events, and that doesn't even you don't know who's gonna get sick.
Wow.
You don't know what's gonna. You just don't know.
You
So,
don't.
and that also leads to preparedness because you don't know
Yes.
what's gonna happen, but you gotta have a spirit of preparedness. Also, be prepared physically.
Yes.
I'm not speaking negative things into our life, but these things are going to happen. So go ahead and especially mentally prepare for these things because if something happens physically, you need mental preparedness before that thing physically happens to physically get through it more and come out even more well balanced because a lot of things that happen in life can throw you off balance.
Wow.
Anything you want to add to that, Jackie?
To piggyback off of both you and Angel, when she was talking about triggers and you discussing accountability, we have to be accountable for our own triggers. I can't,
Wow.
blame Anthony for doing something that triggered me into an emotional state when he doesn't know what I'm dealing with.
Wow.
So it's my responsibility to know my triggers and to, safeguard or get professional help for those things that trigger me. And I have to hold myself to a higher level of accountability.
Yes.
As African Americans, we tend to, just want to push things under the rug, and we don't get professional help. When I was growing up, people would always say, what happens in this house stays in this house.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you on that?
But the problem with that is what happens in that house, it really does stay in that house. And then you're creating generational curses that you don't talk about with your kids. You don't tell your kids, well, I went through this, but this is how I overcame this. We just sweep it under the rug and we just, we don't talk about those things. And, 20, 30 years down the road, you found out granddaddy really your dad because you don't talk about things that happen in that house.
Yes.
So we have to hold ourselves, and as parents, we have to be more accountable to our children and to let them know, okay, we can't do certain things. We don't do certain things because, we're creating generational curses. Somebody has to be able to break those strongholds, and it starts with conversation.
Wow.
I
I
totally
love
agree
what
with
you
you.
just said. It does cause a curse. People have grown and grew up into adulthood not knowing who their fathers were, not knowing who their grandfather were, and the family abandonment. You will probably learn about abandonment within your own family, and it can become a course where you may not experience a father. You could have a kid and not be involved, and because it's a pattern, it's an abandonment pattern uh, that is going on today, and many people have abandonment issues due to not having a father at home, not having a mother at home. It do take two parents to raise a family. It do take two parents, a two-parent household. Many people have survived in a one-parent household, but as a human being, you want your mother and your father to be a part of your life. And those issues can take on. And biblically, I was reading something, 1 Timothy 5:8. It says, but if anyone does not provide for his relatives, and especially for members of his household, he has denied the faith and is worse than an unbeliever. Psalm 27:10. For my father and my mother have forsaken me, but the Lord will take me in. And Miss Jackie, you expounded on about the faith and abandonment. And a lot of times, people who never experience a father, it's hard for them to have faith to say, Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, because of that abandonment issue of how can I respect a father? How can I respect my father-in-law? How can I respect my mother or my mother-in-law? Because of the family dynamic between each individual, it might be different within a marriage. One person can have a mother, and your spouse probably had a mom and a dad. So it might be harder for that spouse to embrace the two-parent household, saying, "Hey, this is my mother-in-law," or "This is my father-in-law," because of the mother probably was not set as an example within that person. So respecting that position, and it does take faith, but it comes with an issue that you have to take before God, and you have to get counsel, and you have to work on it, and you have to seek help from other avenues, because many people play this game to say, hey, let's just cover this up. Let's just act like everything's okay. Let's just go to church. Let's pray. And let's do this traditionally. But now it's time where people are saying, I am still having an issue. 10 years down the line, I need to seek help. I need to seek counseling, because what happened in my life, it traumatized me. What happened in my life was for real. I grew up without this person. I was left. And many people, even in the Bible, Moses, his mother abandoned him. But sometimes people can bounce back. Sometimes people cannot bounce back. And a lot of times those anger issues, it just resides in people. You could feel abandoned by your own pastor. You could feel abandoned by your own mother, by your brother, by your sister. And a lot of people who are actually incarcerated, they probably felt abandoned by the criminal system, felt abandoned by family, friends, and many people are isolated during this pandemic.
Right.
And a lot of times we have to seek an inner power within ourselves to say, hey, I need help. Angel, have there ever been a time in your life where you just have said, I had enough? I'm like, I'm going to give up my faith. I'm going to give up on God. I don't know what to do. Everyone in my life is abandoning me, and I feel alone. Like, have you ever been like in an isolation place in your life?
I have the propensity to draw in and spend time with myself to try to figure out my next steps when I'm dealing with the pressures of life. I am an avid reader, and I spend a lot of time reading, believe it or not. But in reference to, I'm not trying to get away from the question. I have never felt those thoughts all at once. Maybe one or two things. I've never had a nervous breakdown by the grace of God. But because I have an inner strength, I have God inside of me. I have the Holy Ghost. I have um, the propensity to think positive out of situations. I do um, get down, but I always find a way to pull myself out of whatever it is that I'm going through. A lot of people that know me personally um, always wonder, why is it that you're always able to think positive about a situation? Because it's my life, it's my choice. I can choose that. Um, and a lot of people can't. Sometimes it is a chemical imbalance for some people. Some people struggle with not having the right patterns or choices that line. It takes 28 days to officially do something different. I was just reading in the book called Games People Play by Eric Byrne. So, in reference to how we actually think as individuals, each person actually has um, the things that they learn from their parents, both their mom and dad, the experiences that they've seen in the home, and each person also have their adult self inside of them. And that person is the person that uses all the information that they have accumulated, and that is the person. And then they also have another person in them, which is the childlike person. So when you're dealing with people and you ever hear a conversation between two people and one person goes, I don't have time for childish games. They are dealing with that child person that didn't get a chance to mature in that particular area. So now what you could possibly do the next time a person is having a conversation, like let's say their spouse or their child or their parent, and they find these three different personalities within a person, you can now determine, okay, well, I can tell that that probably came from the grandparents, or I can tell that that came from your overall understanding about life, or I can tell that you now have some areas of immaturity, but instead of now dealing with that person and saying, I don't have time for childish games, take the time as a community, as Black people, just take the time to say and recognize, because a lot of times people respond out of those three different persons and they don't know that they're responding, which person they're responding out of. So instead of saying, I don't have time for childish games, say to yourself and identify with them that you found that this is an area that they need work in. So instead of tearing somebody down, take the time to say, you know what? Let me learn some skill sets. Next time we have this conversation, maybe I'll go with them to counseling. Maybe I'll read a pamphlet on whatever the subject is, but take the time to find out how to deal with issues that other people have. Because guess what? One day, somebody's going to say that about you. I don't have time for childish games.
Mhm.
And they'll be talking about the issue that you didn't mature in. So now's the time in the community. We should now pull together and say, you know what? Let's start getting counseling for real. Because we need to grow as a people. There's so many things that we need to know that we don't know as a people. Just in basic communication, or basically trying to figure out how just to do things in life. So that's a good book. Games People Play. That's the one thing that stood out for me, because now I can say, even in any conversation or any situation, I can now identify that this person may not know that they're immature in this area. Let me help them.
Wow, that is really good. Um, it is, and it's so funny about the word abandonment, because a lot of people have abandoned their values, their
Wow.
their rituals, the tradition of eating at the table with their kids,
Wow. Oh, yeah.
and having those family dinners, and a lot of times, we living in a modern generation, or we can live in a contemporary generation, and many marriages back in the day, it was a lifelong commitment. And then I heard Miss Jackie said, with the divorce rate going up, and and the kind of age we are living in, and what we are seeing on TV, people are abandoning their marriages on reality TV shows. Like, if you get a divorce, it's publicized. If you
Mhm.
abandon certain values of your life, it's like on TV and people are watching it. And I feel like there's something that I was reading. It's called "The Family: A Christian Perspective on the Contemporary Home." Jack O. Boswick and Judith K. Boswick. They are a married couple, and what they said is the high rate of divorce in most Western cultures supports the notion that it is difficult to establish a strong marriage in a postmodern society. Although a variety of explanations can be proposed, such as urbanization, industrialization, and changing gender roles. And now we
Mm.
had that conversation about gender roles and high social and geographical mobility. Surely a key factor is high expectations that marriage will fulfill personal needs. Um, and then if you abandon, a lot of the old school ways, or, we can keep. But as we are living in a new modern age, gender roles have changed, and a lot of people have abandoned the role of what a husband should be, like the provider, the protector, and the priest. And something that CJ said about his father that taught him work ethic, maybe
Mhm.
he felt abandoned by that, but then you learning to have a balance between like the work ethic and the gender role that the man, of course, being African American, the man is supposed to work. That's old school. They would say that's biblical. If a man don't work, a man don't eat. Especially in the South, of like the man is supposed to work. You better find a job on the railroad track. You better do something to bring some money in the house. And sometimes we have taken it so far where we do not take vacations for 10 years. We have taken it so far of even working on Sundays, and kind of have that abandonment and bringing money in the home due to being disenfranchised, of not finding your jobs or working hard, having that mental stress on us. And gender roles have changed down the line, where you probably have seen the woman work and the man doesn't work. Or you may have seen that the man is at home with the kids and the woman is working two jobs. And and then you see a lot of us that have felt abandoned by our own Black communities. If you're coming home from prison, you can't find a
That's
job,
true.
and
Mhm.
what do you do if the Black woman is actually working and you're in the home, but you're not abandoning the home, but you are there physically, and spiritually. It comes a time where you need a support system. You need a
Oh, yeah.
community
Absolutely.
support system. You need a church that can support you in your efforts of you not abandoning your family values, of something that can keep your family together. And faith can work, but you need outside help. You need to find a support system. I'm not sure if you ever saw this, Jackie, with the gender roles have changed, and then someone probably have abandoned their family due to alcohol, drugs,
Mm.
imprisonment. Even I was actually reading. I didn't know why I didn't know this, but I didn't know that adultery, it can mean you have abandoned your marriage or you have abandoned your family, or because I was thinking just as long as we were taught just keep your family together, even though you may be going through your addictions, but yet that is still a form of abandonment. And I think we do have to get back to some of those old school values that marriage should be a lifelong commitment of the gender role as a husband to be the provider, the protector, and the priest. I'm not sure if you ever experienced or if you've seen anyone that have, I won't say experienced, but you have seen or witnessed in this new generation, like gender roles that have changed, or certain addictions that can change a family, that can make look like, hey, I'm abandoning my family. I know people in the younger generation, they have a cell phone addiction where you could be on the cell phone and not communicating with your family, your kids, or your mate. And now we are dealing with family members that have cell phones and they don't even eat at the table anymore, and just abandoning those old school home values that we can use in today's time.
Yeah, that is true. A lot of things have been abandoned. A lot of the things, like you say, as far as eating at the dinner table, with my work schedule, I go to work before my husband, like 3 in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, and I'm home around 10 o'clock. When he goes to work, 9 to 6 or 7 or whatever time he gets home. I guess you want to call me old school, but I still believe that every time he comes home, I have a plate. I have a hot meal.
Yep.
I fix his plate.
Fix my plate.
He sits down at the table. I fix his plate. I fix him something to drink.
Bring it to him.
You
got to smile.
Bring it to him.
Just smiling like this.
And when he wants more, he doesn't have to get up from the table at all. Because if he wants seconds, I take his plate. I go get him seconds.
Wow.
Because if you're as a man and you're out there in the world doesn't really see you as a man. So when you come home, then you have to. The woman has to make the man feel like, okay, he's welcome, because the world is not going to welcome you.
Yeah. Oh, wow. That was so deep.
You said a mouthful.
We have 3 minutes left, but I don't know if we should leave on this note, Angel. I mean, because we have a married couple and we have 2 single people. I love that. I mean, I'm just smiling. You make me want to get married. Gosh, and I could actually say that's how I grew up. I saw my mother make the plate. I saw her pick up the plate and take it to the dishwasher. I mean, I love that. Oh, wow. I just feel like a king just listening to that. Angel, would you like to piggyback off that? And I'm sure CJ, I'm sure you don't have nothing to say after that. You just have to say, thank you, Jesus, for giving me a good wife. Wow. Abandoning the house values, abandoning the house rules, abandoning you have this abandonment against serving your husband, and the husband serving the wife as well goes hand in hand. And that is so real, keeping those values alive. Angel?
We should probably leave on that note.
Yeah, I really think we should. I love that ending. Wow, that just put a big smile on my face to know that some values are still alive in today's time. CJ, would you like to say anything?
I'm just going to leave with 6 closing remarks. And these are tips for direction to the road of healing. Number 1, own your story. And we talked a lot about our story today. Number 2, identify what you feel. Because you got, in order to solve something, you have to know where to go. You got to know the root cause. Number 3, find a healthy outlet of expression. It takes a healthy outlet of expression to heal a dark moment or something that's hurt you in a negative emotional way. Recognize that you are not the problem. That's number 4. 5, be willing to ask for help. A lot of people do not want to ask for help, and a lot of that stems back to that abandonment. And last but not least, number 6, start a relationship with an exceptional counselor, and to put that in better words, with someone who is a professional and that qualified to help you.
That's true.
I love those tips. Well, there we have it. Thank you so much for tuning in to Pastor Cheryl Armstrong, New Life. The Glory is back, WDDO 980 AM, 107.9. Thank you, Angel. Thank you, CJ. Thank you, Jackie. Wow, man, you really helped a lot of people today with that.
Yes, you did.
Beautiful advice. I love it. And may you all have a blessed day. Thank you so much.
You all have a great
You're
evening.
welcome. Great
Great, take care.
They usually play a song. You guys did awesome.